Welcome back to another episode of PSL Daily Download, your first stop to all things real estate in Port St. Lucie. Today we got a great show for you, but before we get started, today is May 3rd, 2024. Hope you're having a great start to your Friday. My name is Jaime, and again, thank you for returning to the channel. Today we have a lot of great stuff to cover. We're going to talk about inventory, rates, we're looking at the market, and we're going to end the show with an article about quantitative tightening. And I'll explain to you at that point why I'm covering it and how it may affect mortgages and the real estate industry in general. All right, so let's get started with inventory. So after a down day yesterday with inventory, it looks like we did recoup some of that. We went from 2344 to 2356 homes for sale in Port St. Lucie, excluding vacant land and homes that are currently under contract pending. All right. Properties under 375. It went from 583 to 586, a small increase. And again, all of these trends over the last month and honestly the whole year have been trending up. Okay, with some periods being a little bit faster than the other, the acceleration of the growth. But generally speaking, it has continued to go up. All right. As for homes listed above 375, increased from 1759 to 1768. Homes that are currently reduced in price increased from 679 to 690, an increase of 1.62. And homes that are currently listed for rent increased from 393 to 396, a modest increase of 0.76%. Okay, so we'll see if that trend continues. As for rates, we're on the Mortgage News Daily's website, and they have their daily rate survey, and basically they track a list of lenders, I'm assuming, that provides the rates at that moment, and they'll basically track it throughout the day. So as of end of business day yesterday, they had the 30-year fixed rate at 7.37, which was a decrease of 0.04%. And they had the FHA 30-year at 6.82, which was a decrease of 0.06%. So since the Fed meeting, the FOMC meeting earlier this week, we have gradually seen rates decrease. Okay. Again, we'll keep an eye on it as anything could happen and that could reverse. All right. So let's go see what the market looks like. And again, as I'm recording this, it's pretty early in the day. It's before 10 a.m. So, all right, let's see where Wall Street's at. So the Dow is up 0.85. NASDAQ and S&P haven't changed at all as of yet. And the US Treasury yield is basically starting at 4.85. That is down 0.086. And as a percentage, 1.881, which tells me that pricing may be better this morning than it was yesterday. Again, not the actual rate that you're going to be getting, but the pricing may improve. So we'll see where it comes out, but it looks like we're starting on the better side of rates, the lower side. All right. And the article I wanted to cover was the Fed balance sheet. So since the FOMC, and actually literally anytime these meetings happen, I get a lot of calls or I have a lot of conversations around, hey, where are the mortgage rates? Did they drop the rates? And a lot of people think, again, and I try to be a little bit educational. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an expert in stocks and bonds and anything like that. But this is just something to kind of open the box of thinking of what affects rates, because it's not just the Fed. There's a lot of factors that affect rates. So one of them being the Fed balance sheet. So Jerome Powell did announce that starting in June, the Fed is going to start reducing the balance sheet. So I'm going to actually scroll down, and this is an article from Wolf Street written by Wolf Richter on May 2nd, 2024, titled Fed Balance Sheet QT. All right, so I'm going to kind of go down and you'll see where, yep, you can see it there, the total assets on the Fed balance sheet. So you can see as it increases, and basically this is how much treasuries they're holding and MBS and all that stuff that they hold on their portfolio, on their balance sheet. And when these numbers start coming down, you can see it right over here. kind of here they did a QT because something was breaking in 2019, and then obviously the pandemic, and then it started to go down a little bit. And SMB, the bank out in California, we had troubles with the banking system, and it's continued to go down. So whenever it goes down, basically they're pulling money out of the economy, different ways through treasuries and things again that I'm not an expert in, but just think about it: when they're pulling money out, decreases, it increases the chances of something happening in the economy that could negatively impact the banking system, as you can see right over here. So, so basically stated starting June, they're going to slow the pace down. So actually, they've been reducing it pretty quickly, as you can see right over here. So they're going to slow the pace. Now, what they're going to do is basically there's two factors that I'm going to touch on, which is the MBS, which is mortgage-backed securities, and that's how what I'm going to touch on the article, and that's how it affects. That's the one that particularly affects mortgage rates, and then treasuries, which is another way that they kind of control the market and their balance sheet. So I'm going to kind of scroll down here for the mortgage backed securities because it kind of touches on the overall, and I'll kind of summarize it I'll summarize it at the end. But again, this is not for us to be an expert in this, but just know that there's other things that affect interest rates other than the Fed increasing or decreasing rates. All right, so let's get into the article here. Mortgage-backed securities, 16 billion in April, 368 billion from the peak to 2.37 trillion, the lowest since July 2021. That's again that they're reducing it, and when they reduce it, it's considered quantitative tightening. When they're increasing their balance sheet, they're buying a lot of treasuries or mortgage-backed securities, makes the market a little bit easier. It's called, or it's considered quantitative easing. MBS comes off the balance sheet primarily via pass-through principal payments that holders receive when mortgages are paid off. Mortgages, homes are sold, mortgages are refinanced, and when the mortgage payments are made. So basically, they get money every time obviously a mortgage gets paid off, that mortgage comes off their books. They're going to be reducing so the money that they're getting above that payment that they would normally reinvest into buying more mortgage-backed securities, they're basically not going to do that, or they're going to reduce that. They're going to start buying treasuries. Okay, so I'll keep going and I'll explain to you how that affects us. But sales of existing homes have plunged and mortgage refinances has collapsed. Nothing new in my world. And so few mortgages got paid off, and pass-through principal payments to MBS holders, such as the Fed, have been reduced to a trickle, and the MBS are coming off the balance sheet at a pace that's far below the 35 billion cap. Under the slower QT starting in June, the mortgage-backed securities cap remains at 35 billion. When the housing market unfreezes, okay, so they're foreseeing the market unfreezing, take that as you will, and sale volume rises to more normalish levels, mortgage payoffs will increase, and therefore pass-through principal payments to mortgage-backed security holders will increase, and the mortgage-backed securities roll-off will increase from current levels, and the curve in the chart below will steepen. So basically, this chart will drop even further as they run off that balance sheet. So this is actually the chart before I read the last little piece here. This is a chart specifically part of the mortgage-backed securities. And we can see obviously a lot of mortgage-backed securities. And think about it like this: when this is going up, when they're putting a lot of money into mortgage-backed securities, those rates are getting cheaper because the Fed is buying a lot of those mortgage-backed securities. When it's coming down, the opposite is happening. All right, back to the article. If pass-through principal payments exceed 35 billion during the pandemic housing boom, they exceeded 110. Did I read that correctly? Let's try again. If pass-through principal payments exceed 35 billion during the pandemic housing boom, they exceeded 110 billion in many months. The overages will be replaced with treasury securities, not MBS, as the Fed wants to phase out the MBS on its balance sheet. Okay. So again, if they're reducing it, it's potentially putting upward pressure on rates. When they're increasing it, they're making rates cheaper. Okay. And again, not getting into too many of the details, but what they're going to do is they're, as we can see, they're already reducing it. As they get these payoffs, they would normally have gone back and buy more mortgage-backed securities. Now they're basically going to, whenever they make those, receive those payments, they're going to go and buy treasuries. So these mortgage-backed securities, I personally expect, and again, I'm not an expert or a financial advisor, I expect this to accelerate towards the downside. All right. Which would, in my mind, it or my expectations would be that it's going to put upward pressure on mortgage rates, regardless of where the rate is set or if the Fed intent or does lower the rates overall, the Fed rate. So hopefully you got some value in this. And if you did, or you have more questions, I could get into a little bit more detail or point you in the right direction to get. But this is really good information, and it's especially if you're like an investor. Obviously, if you're a realtor and you're trying to advise people on kind of timing, because we get these kind of questions quite a bit. It's pretty good to have an idea what this is, so that way if a client brings this up, you're educated enough to at least have a conversation about it and kind of know how it may affect it. So other than that, I hope you found some value in this video. If you did, please don't forget to click that like and that subscribe button. I'm going to go ahead and add a video over here if you're interested in getting a little bit more information on the Port St. Lucie real estate market. But other than that, I hope you have a great day, a great weekend, and I will see you Monday. Bye.